Welcome back, guys, to another Mesh Network Pre-Weekly Technicals. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and get yourselves on over to the free Telegram group. The links are all down below in the description. So let's have a look at the SPX 500. So if we look on a monthly chart, we had last month's closure, what we were mentioning. Obviously, we were paying attention to this 4600 area for closures, just going off the previous rejection of that area on the monthly chart. So we didn't get the closure above 4600, as you can see. Price closed just below for the month, and then we've seen a big rejection. But as we've been mentioning on the previous calls, we've seen this big bullish move to the upside, and we've been expecting a retracement on the higher time frames. Obviously, just as you guys know, with trading, it's not organic for charts to just move parabolic for extended periods of time. We like to see those retracements happen on the higher time frames. As mentioned, now we're seeing nice bullish structure still remains on the SPX monthly chart, but we just have to pay attention to this monthly closure and this big rejection of that area. As you can see, there's no wick on the upside, no wick to the downside. We've got a clear bullish rejection of that area, and then a big to the downside, clear bearish rejection of that area, sorry. But as mentioned, we're still bullish on the monthly on the SPX. Let's go down into a weekly time frame. Once again, bullish structure still remains. This little area of structure that got broken, and then we didn't see a retest of that area. Now, as mentioned, obviously we're seeing a rejection of this 4600 area. As mentioned previously, massive rejection. If you look at that wick and you look at this wick here, this wick, all these wicks suggesting that there's a lot of supply and demand around this area. Price, this is why we were paying attention to 4600 from obviously the likes of this rejection here. We've seen a massive rejection of that area. We did have a scenario to say, obviously, we could see 460 get tapped just going off this wick, but we see that massive rejection in the past, and now we're starting to see the same thing again. So,
how perfect is that with the Dixie? So as the Dixie starts to gain strength on the chart, you start to see this lose that strength, and we can almost effectively make a very strong guesstimate that now the S&P is going to be bearish to the downside to have a confirmation, because the Dixie as that cash.
yeah, we see so many levels.
Cash. And this is that.
Yeah, we see.
Is this what you were talking about in terms of smart money concept? Because these are the patterns that I just see normally.
See, with the SMC, more to do with the order blocks. So obviously, I'm more of a breakout trader, but I've just been looking into SMC for the liquidity grabs. So the liquidity grabs, when we see these big movements in one direction, we obviously have a lot of gaps, a lot of imbalances. And so I've been just getting into smart money concepts and obviously when we see these liquidity grabs, when we backtest these certain order blocks and certain SMC strategies, we can identify with good accuracy these areas where price needs to come back and grab liquidity before moving off and maintain an organic structure. But obviously, you guys who are trading out there, best that you don't stick to your edge, stick to your strategy. Don't start trying to find the holy grail, this, that, and the other. But they say just been paying attention to it, just obviously for liquidity grabs and stuff like that. But like I say, just with all these gaps on the way down, we could see on the smaller time frames a lot of order blocks to be filled. For example, we've got like these areas here where we're seeing this big move to the upside, and we know price has to come back and fill these imbalances before moving on. So obviously, just with the smart money concepts, any of you guys out there, just do your research before you start looking into other strategies and stuff. But yeah, they say we're definitely, it's overdue, this retracement. It's just a matter of how far we're going to retrace with it. But we still are bullish on the weekly. We still show bullish weekly structure. We've got this area for a potential retest. This current week or previous week's candle, we see a big bearish engulfer. It's engulfed the previous candle, but not only that, it's engulfed this candle as well. The big bearish variation pattern, and we've got the closure below this area we were looking at 40. But like I say, for now, we're still bullish on the weekly. as you can see off this structure, but just going off this candle, this bearish variation pattern that we're starting to see, that we've seen occur, obviously with the closure, we could be seeing a rejection of this 4600 area, the potential to create a double top before pulling back, but it's just to go down into the lower time frames. Yeah, so we're bullish on the monthly, bullish on the weekly, but we've got this rejection with this big bearish engulfing pattern. Let's go down into daily. So now we see on the daily, we've flipped from bullish structure to bearish. So we've had this break of structure, which, as you can see, very clean break structure. We've got our multi-time frame correlation from monthly, we've got our time frame correlation from monthly, weekly, but then we have this on the daily with bearish, not bullish. Let's just have a closer look at this. We're seeing this area break through before establishing support where it once was resistance. And then we've had this consolidation in 4600 and 4530. So we've had this consolidation here, and then obviously, like we mentioned, we had this rejection of 4600. We had this previous rejection with this candle closure with the wick to the upside. Bit of a double bottom at this area before we've had this next rejection before seeing bearish volume break these lower structure points. So I mentioned 4530 was establishing support nicely, as you can see on the daily. Then we've had this break of structure. We've had this break of this support. And then we've seen this wick to the upside where we've had a little bit of a retest of this area before prices closed out below that 4486 area that we look at here. So we've had the break of structure, the retest, and the third leg on the lower time range before closure below this area. So what I'll be looking for on the SPX, obviously, as mentioned on the higher time, still bullish, but we're seeing this big bearish variation pattern play out. So we look on the daily, as mentioned, we've broken structure, we've broken the supply and demand area, and we're starting to see bearish bias on the daily on the SPX. So I'll be expecting a potential pullback into this area to confirm the breakdown of this level, and then potentially we could range in here, as mentioned with the Dixie as mentioned with the Dixie, we could potentially see some consolidation while that descending triangle starts to go into that squeeze where we've got the trend line and the support line at 101.5 on the Dixie converging. So we could see that. We could see a bit of consolidation within this range on the SPX and potentially the NASDAQ as well. But if we do see this area start to break and retest, then we could see a potential pullback, even all the way down to we've got this area 44.20. Could have a potential pullback into this area before establishing support, or we could start to see the SPX start to come back down to these levels to retest. But that's what I'll be paying attention to on the SPX this week. I'll be just go down into a 4 hour. So yeah, as you can see on that, we had price broke above obviously this bullish structure, and then we see this area of resistance. Resistance is now acting as support. That breakout to the upside came back. We grabbed that liquidity down here, act support again, and we see price trading within that range all up until we had the rejection of that area. We had bearish structure on the 4 hour, and then once we come back to retest this area and we failed to maintain support and we've had that break of that area, now we're trading outside of that range. So bottom end of that range being 45.30. We've now broken out of that range and we've given it a nice retest and a confirmation. And as you can see, that the last 4 hour candle on Friday is absolutely ripped through. So we've had that nice retest and resistance established at 45.30 before we see a big bearish engulfing candle and closure below even this area. So they say just going off these smaller time frames, could expect even potentially a retest of 44.86 before heading down to fill out these imbalances and start trading lower into 40, even potentially 44 area, that nice round, nice flat number. So just a few things to pay attention to, obviously, on the SPX, but yeah, I'll be waiting to see what happens if price can establish support at 44,860. But yeah, just see if there's anything else to pay attention to. Yeah, so obviously if price does maintain support, yeah, and we pull back up and we start to see support established on this area 45.30, then potentially we could be trading back within this range. If price does continue to trade within this range or breaking these lows, I'd like to see these lows get retested before taking shorts all the way down to fill out these gaps. But as I say, guys, get yourselves over to the Stream Mesh Telegram group where we update our technical analysis through the week. Obviously, we mentioned fundamentals. If you haven't checked out the Dixie video, we mentioned fundamentals. Obviously, upcoming fundamentals this week being Thursday and Friday. We've got some heavy fundamentals on Thursday for the US dollar. On Friday, we've got some US dollar fundamentals and GBP fundamentals. So I personally won't be trading Thursday and Friday. Just like to stay out the mark where we've got fundamentals, as it can be very unpredictable. But yeah, guys, get yourselves over to the free group. And yeah, thanks for watching the video, guys. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe. And if there's any other pairs or any other anything else you want analysed, drop it down below in the comments and see what we can do for you guys. But yeah, thanks.